need a microphone? Good, good. I've almost lost my voice from about a week travelling already, so I really have to talk in a very deep voice to keep myself at a loud level. It's not because I drink a lot of whiskey, because I've been talking too much. My name is Joanne Brown, just to introduce myself. I see some familiar faces, I see some new people. I am the brand ambassador for Bruichladdich Distillery. I've been with the company for 8 years now. I'm very fortunate that I grew up on the island of Islay. And they like to start as young on Islay. My very first school trip at the age of 5 was to Octomore Distillery. And we were given a glass of orange juice at the end of the tour, and we were told to drink it very, very slowly because there was a teaspoon of whiskey in it. And that got me hooked after that one teaspoon. Today, we've got a very exciting launch of the new Port Charlotte Islay barley and the new Octomore Islay barley. So you guys are the first people in the UK to try these whiskies today. Very excited. I want to hear your feedback on any of our whiskies. If anybody's got a question at any time, please feel free to ask. We want to keep it quite informal, and we love to hear your opinions. So, I thought we'd start at the very beginning. Most of you will know how to pronounce our distillery. Some of you might not know. It's not Bruichladdich, it's Bruichladdich. So you pronounce the first CH, not the second CH. This is my Uncle James, Mr. James Brown. He's not a soul singer, he is a bagpipe player. My Uncle James owns Octomore farm. So Octomore is a farm that sits on the hills above the village of Port Charlotte, just along from the distillery. And James Brown grows barley for Bruichladdich and also supplies Islay spring water to go into our whiskies. And I think he drinks about a quarter of Bruichladdich production each year. So, Bruichladdich is on the island of Islay. It's not Islay, it's not Islay, Islay. The locals get very offended when you call it Islay, and even people in Jura call it Islay. It seems to be just us that calls it Islay. Islay is a small island situated off the southwest coast of Scotland. It's home to 3,000 people, about 20,000 sheep, and 8 single malt whisky distilleries. World-renowned whisky distilleries. And as soon as you say Islay to people, they automatically think of heavy, robust, smoky whiskies. However, Bruichladdich is an unpeated Islay single malt. So anything that says Bruichladdich on the bottle or on the tin, now is always unpeated. No smoke at all. But saying that, we also do a more heavily peated variant at the same distillery. Port Charlotte is made using malted barley peated to 40 parts per million. It's heavily peated. And Octomore is the world's most heavily peated. Just kidding. Most heavily peated whiskey. We make that. I'm just going to go through a quick run through of the history. Try and keep it not too long so we can get on to tasting the whiskies, just to give you a flavour of the Bruichladdich cask. Bruichladdich was founded in 1881. At that time, it was one of the more modern distilleries on Islay. It had been founded by a distilling family from Glasgow who brought with them their knowledge of distilling, their knowledge of business, and also their knowledge of engineering. And they specifically designed it to take take advantage of the slope that Bruichladdich sits on. A lot of the production is gravity fed. Over the years, Bruichladdich has been owned by many different companies. It's been closed down, opened up again, closed down, opened up again, until 1994, when it was thought it was closed down for good. A lot of people lost their jobs, tourism was affected, it just wasn't very nice to see closed down Distillery. It was rescued and reopened in 2001 by an independent company. And they bought the distillery for £6.5 million. £5 million of that was for the stock that was in the warehouses. So they weren't starting with nothing. And over the years, Bruichladdich became known as mavericks within the whisky industry, not afraid to try new things, pushing the boundaries of whisky making and also shouting about it. They weren't very quiet, not very quiet. Those of you that have followed the Bruichladdich range will have seen it grow and grow and grow and grow and grow until it became a monster of a range. About 60 different products available at one time. We had to do that out of necessity to work on the stock profile that we bought when we bought the distillery in 2001. But it became too confusing. People didn't know what the true style of Bruichladdich was, and because it was so confusing with all these different whiskies, it was a lot to invest into finding out which one was which. It was confusing for the public, it was confusing for trade, it was even confusing for us. In 2011, we began to bring the range back in again, and then in 2012, Bruichladdich was sold to Rémy Cointreau. Je m'appelle Joanne, I had to brush up on my French. It was quite a shock for everybody involved, because having been so proudly and fiercely independent for so long, we were really surprised. And I was even more surprised because Islay is a hotbed for gossip, and nobody actually knew before it was announced. So it really was a shock. But I'm pleased to say, 2 years on, Bruichladdich is growing. Rémy Cointreau are a company committed to quality, and that's exactly what we're trying to do at Bruichladdich. Take the best possible ingredients, use the best possible distillation techniques, the best possible wood management program, and then utilising as much of Islay's resources as possible. Be that the land, be that the atmosphere, be that the people of Islay. And Rémy Cointreau don't know how to make whisky, we know how to make whisky, so everything that goes in the bottle, everything that we release is decided upon still by the team at the distillery, and that will continue. So we've got a real focus on our terroir, almost looking at whisky making in a wine sense, particularly with the barley. Where is the barley grown? What variety of barley is it? How does that impact flavour? Does it impact flavour? You know, we're one of the first distilleries to actively look at this, and hopefully, when you try through our whiskies, you'll see what we've been working on. Kind of summed up in this statement. We believe that whisky should speak of the place from which it comes, of the people who have created and nurtured it, the soil, the air, the geography that influence it. Please. We believe it should be a reflection of the soul of those who have laboured to produce it. Got me tea in my eye after saying that. And it starts with the barley. Now we make sure that we use 100% Scottish grown barley in all our production. And not every distillery can say this. Scottish barley is very sought after. The latitude that Scotland lies on, we get longer daylight hours than say the south of England, but we also have a milder climate than say on the continent. And it means that the barley has a longer, slower ripening process. And it means that you get less nitrates and more sugars in the barley. And of course, it's called Scotch whisky. We wanted some Scottish ingredients at the end of the day. So the first whisky we're going to try Whiskey number 1 on the top.